everybody. Do I need to use a mic? A little bit. How do these things work? Sounds like too much work. This is the 9th year we've done this. I know some of you have heard this before, but every year it does get a little bit bigger and bigger, and this is a testament to that. We've got an awesome night in store for you. We had over 80 poets submit, and I think this might have been one of the toughest years. And every year it gets harder. And it's even caused us to put some renovations into the tryout process. And I hope that some of the poets who didn't make it this year, I hope you're here to cheer on your fellow poets and you keep trying. And next year I think we're going to do performance videos and have you submit those because it's just getting too hard. So hopefully you guys are here and you're not discouraged and you're one of the loudest people here, the loudest fans here for the poets that made it. So let's hear it for the poets who had the bravery to submit but didn't make it. I have a number of thank yous from Mrs. Seaman up in the booth and her crew and Mr. Banks for the video and Mrs. Quayle and the Lee kids, to my poetry committee, especially Sarah Flugel, who helped run the poetry committee, and the members of Poetry Club who have helped us out through the way. Hopefully you guys are prepared for a really good show. You're going to hear, for the parents in the audience and the grandparents, you're going to hear some pretty gritty truth tonight, and sometimes the truth hurts. I mean, I thought about writing an angsty poem about my mom. But I know I already have it, it's in my notebook. I'm not reading it to anybody. I hate you, Mom. No, I'm kidding. You know, some things might be hard to hear from a parent's standpoint, but I know that no matter what the poet says up here, their contemporaries will appreciate them having a safe place for them to have a voice. And so with no further ado, we're going to bring up our very first poet. This gentleman was one of the first people to enter his sophomore year and get in sophomore, junior, and senior year back when he went to school here. And then he went on to be working at MSU on a slam poetry team and doing some performances. Stephen Plant with Tin Cans.
I was really hoping I could walk up to Iggy, but apparently that's not a thing. Two kids sitting on a sidewalk, watching the days of childhood pass us by, playing ragtime nostalgia before we even knew what it was. See, you and I, we were just tin cans held together by a string, stretching the whole block, connecting me to you. And when I felt alone, I would just give it a tug and say, I miss you. See, we were too coy, chasing each other through ponds of transcendency, but you were always one step in front of me, looking 14 steps in front of me, telling me you liked us just the way we were. And I could have told you how I felt, but I was too coy, too distracted by your pools forming ripples in my head, by your fingers plucking concertos from my heart threads, by your whispers whittling sweet nothings into my ear. I had to tell myself not to listen to you, even though you were my favorite poem. The intricacies of our string, it circled the lamp posts and the tree branches, and our tin can telephone wire came into accords with the suburban scenery, until you went cordless. And our cord coiled nooses around my neck, forcing me to watch as you walked down that street and out of my life. I thought we were tin cans that you traveled by kick, always 2 steps in front, never looking back. But instead, I was just a kid, sitting on a sidewalk, watching the days of my childhood pass me by, playing ragtime nostalgia now that I know what it means. And I sat there on my knees, painting your face into fresh concrete, wishing my coils could fashion extension cords so I could travel the world with you, so I could be your outlet. All I ever wanted was for you to plug into me when you were running on 2% power and 110% ambition, and I'm wishing to see your face every night. Your eyes are two exploding stars in my night sky, and those stars could die tonight, and I would never get to tell you, I miss you. Until I saw you. 15 years later, at the corner store down the road, you told me of those big cities like an Irishman talking to his cigarette, telling me you wished to repent as we took a trip back to the house I grew up in. That night I thought of calling you upstairs, but you slept in my sister's room and went back home alone. And I'm done with you. Like mountains of blank pages at the end of chapter books, done with you. Like the final strain of John Philip Sousa March, done with you. Like the rolling credits at the end of the movie, done with you. But I keep waiting for our blooper reel. I keep reading for an epilogue. I keep listening for that coda to cue me back to the beginning, to tell me to try again, to show me how to push the reset button and take us back to a saved place, to every time I wanted to delete your face, to write down all the things I wanted to erase until I saw that empty tin can sitting on my sister's nightstand, tied to 4,000 miles of string stretching across the whole world, connecting me to you, and that note that read, I miss you too. Thank you.
I just use that. Oh, there we go. Is Mike in the house? This next poet says, I want to be remembered, as the girl who always had a metaphor, except for when she needed it most, like this quote, with color my life with the chaos of trouble, Meredith Turner.
With 1902 emerged the first colored film, a shocking transition but needed. Now rosy cheeks were rosy, ruby slippers ruby, and witches became wicked with leaf-colored skin. Color changed the game. Now themes could be greater presented of motifs of contrast, blue versus red. Remember, gentlemen prefer blondes, and we must always stay pretty in pink. You're my brown-eyed girl, not gray. And say hello to Mr. Blue Skies while you're at it, not gray. This is not an ocean of tones of charcoal and slate. Did you know Crayola has found 12 ways to describe the color red? Jazzberry jazz, mahogany, radical red, Rossiano, razzle, dazzle, rose, razzmatazz, red, red orange, red violet, salmon, scarlet, yet there is only one shade to fill in a cloudy sky or rocks or cement, gray. I save room in the box for the wild ones, the names that take up the full length of the crayon. My life is full of technicolored moments when the red lips of a dancer pop like candy apples, and my skyline of skyscraper trees is a blanket of copper and burgundy. I know you are just getting to know me, but I want to tell you I was never one for color by numbers. I would make it fun by switching the colors and doing math to figure out the pattern. 2 + 4 = 6. Red and blue make purple, therefore 2 is red, 4 is blue, 6 is purple. Take that, key on the side. I was also never one for coloring in the lines. I know it's cliche, but it's true. Not only would I change a skin color from brown or peach to mauve, but I would add some weird protrusions and lumps on the side of the legs, because why not? Let's make this one a monster. I used to cry every time I thought of dogs only seen in black and white, because I realized they would never feel calm when looking at 4 walls of pale yellow, or get captured in the pumpkin and cobalt glow of a campfire, or notice the colors in the sky after the sun has set. Have you seen that? Do you notice it? The way it goes from cerulean to navy blue to indigo to this deep, deep, spacey purple to pitch black. Clouds aren't beautiful because of their absolute whiteness, but because of the contrast against a blue sky. Have you noticed the effect the color of the sky has on our emotions? Gray hurts. The dark scares. We need color. I see in color. So here, take my coloring book. I've got a box of 64 crayons and some watercolors. Let's go color. Because I promise you, black and white does not make happiness. Thank you.
Our next poet wants to be remembered for the questions I ask. With Land, Aaron Rodewald.
If you get on your bike and travel north on the road for a while, and turn left where the oaks have raised their foreheads above the maple and the cherry, you will find them. The temple. It won't look like much from the outside, but if you pull back the curtain of brush and step inside, you will find paradise. Sphagnum moss and sandgrass, and decaying leaves rest beneath a net of shade cast down by the giants. Those magnificent beasts of oak who hold up their canopies delicately as a puddle holds a blossom. And every kind of green flutters in the summer breeze like a waking dream. If you go to the temple, make sure to remove your shoes and walk without regard to the path, for there is nothing there to hurt your feet. Look up at the ceiling. See the intricacy of the design and how each chink seems to breathe, inhaling and exhaling the gentlest of skies. Drink the cool air, let it wash you, and your heart will soar up and over the top of everything to sway with the branches and the birds. Your feet will sink down into the earth to mingle with the roots of the oaks. If you go to the temple, you will fall in love with the land. And then autumn will come. If you get on your bike and make your way to the temple just as you have 1,000 times before, you will find the sand, grass, and the moss, and every beloved clump of earth, but one day it will be all wrong. You fall to your knees and you're breathless, for the temple has been burned from the inside out. Orange axes defile the trunks of trees, and ropes have been hung between the flimsiest of branches. And in the center of everything, the greatest oak of all, who once stood tall, now lays in pieces on the ground, now nothing more than uprooted wood. And why? Someone's building a house here. Breathlessness turns to anger, and anger turns to rage, and you shout out the injustice before you. How dare they tear away her skin and hair? You shout out the injustice before you. These oaks were not tried before they were slain. How dare you tear away, These oaks were not tried before they were slain. This burn was not prescribed by Mother Nature. How dare you tear away her skin and hair, strip away her virginity like chipped paint, and let the exposed earth rust and rot, let it turn to scar. This land is not yours. This land is mine. This temple, this home, my home. Yes, you fall to your knees and you weep. The tide of grief ebbs and flows, and the open sky tortures you with its openness, and you weep, and you weep, and you weep. But do it anyway. I know one day the image will burn behind your eyes of the way the oaks used to stand strong and silent, the way the earth used to bend beneath you, the way everything used to turn soft and green in the summer. I know it will hurt, but do it anyway. When you step inside the temple, you have no choice but to fall in love with the piece of land with the little plot of land you've learned to call your home. So go ahead, by all means, step inside, fall in love, and when the land dies, mourn it with every aching cell in your body. When the land dies, go ahead and weep. Do it anyway. And when it's done, wash your feet, don your shoes, get on your bike, and keep riding north, for there are more temples to be found, more homes to be loved, and more land to turn green once more. Thank you.
This next poet says, I want to be remembered as a bleeding but strong beating heart. With her poem, Lifelong Division, Kira Quigley.
I've never been a numbers girl. I can't calculate the distance between two vectors. I can barely remember how to find the circumference of a circle. I got a D on my last math test. But I heard that numbers are ubiquitous in the natural world, that Fibonacci has woven his way through every living thing, that the number 1.618 continues to spin its golden thread through every fiber of our beings. I found patterns in an orchid petal, and I traced them with my fingertip. And I found that our fingerprints are very similar. I found parallel lines on either side of my nose when I smiled in the mirror, and the same ones when I frowned, and when I raised my eyebrows, and when I scrunched up my face. I didn't do my math homework last night, but the numbers in my fingertips still find their place along the sloped bridge of my nose, and the curve of my lips, the placement of stars in the sky, parallels that of the freckles on my arm. I watched the water on a windy day, and found the same choppy waves in my bedhead. My math grade says I don't know what I'm talking about, but evidence dating back to 25 BC suggests that my body is a living sequence of complex ratios so daunting that the human race has collectively decided to mask it behind itchy sweaters and knee-length skirts, so intimidating that our schools tend to pass it up for imaginary numbers and derivatives and the probability of consecutively picking 7 blue marbles out of a jar of 1,000, including 10 other colors without replacement. Don't get me wrong. I still do my best in math. I study hard for tests I've already accepted I'm going to fail. I try not to copy homework answers out of the back of my book, but I've got a long way to go. I can calculate the area of a square. I can determine the amount of time it will take a train to get from one destination to another, yet I cannot forge the sequence of events that got me here in front of you, that taught my feet to go upstairs, that allow my lips to curve upward or downward, that taught my hands to type and doodle and trace and drum on a desk. I tried to develop a brain for math so I could answer my own questions, so I could measure the amount of courage it would take to step outside of equations, but that didn't seem to add up. I'm still trying to find the code for a genuine smile, or what operation will derive tears from laughter. I can't formulate a long and happy relationship. I can't even add up the courage to say hi to someone I like. Maybe it's because I got a score of 2 out of 16 on my last math test. Maybe it's because I still can't find the length of an arc. Maybe it's because somewhere along the line, I stopped listening to the numbers in my lips and my toes and my eyelashes and the tip of my tongue, but I just can't figure out how everyone else does it. The numbers in my teeth and my ears and the curve of my wrist do not lie, but they speak in a language that is foreign to me. The whisper of my hair against my ears is still cryptic, but plain English is hard enough most days. Math is ubiquitous in the natural world, but I've never been a numbers girl.
This next poet says, I want to be remembered as anything but the guy who uses a lot of big words. With nice guy syndrome, Matt Dargay.
If you happen to be a male between the ages of 14 and 22, it's time to listen up. If you've ever found yourself using the following sentence, girls never go for nice guys like me. They go for jerks. You have 2 problems. 1, you're wrong, and 2, you're the jerk. Allow me to explain. You see, the teenage boys of our nation, their egos fueled to the brim by Mountain Dew and Meninism, have transfigured platonic friendship with women into the friend zone, a deplorable hellhole to which the nice guy is banished forever, as the jerk walks away with the girl whose friendship the nice guy never actually wanted. Awkward. And soon enough, the girl is villainized, going from special snowflake to ice queen in the time it takes to listen to blurred lines. How dare she not fall in love with his basic human decency? How dare she not treat her body like a vending machine? Wait a minute, who exactly is being treated unfairly here? After all, we all know how the story goes. Boy meets girl. Boy immediately mistakes girl's kindness as romantic. Boy thinks that's how that works, right? I've never had a girl be kind to me before. I wonder why that is. Boy decides the unrequited love in exchange for not being mean is, pretty reasonable. Boy, and here's the kicker, puts girl in the girlfriend zone, the place where innocent friendships go to die at the hands of boy, making things increasingly uncomfortable. Increasingly uncomfortable, I tell you. Leeringly romantic gifts, unsolicited kisses on the cheek, possessiveness, it's an awkwardness party. Boy's skull is too thick to get the message that his advances are unwanted. Girl gets the message that her friendship is unwanted. Girl tries to let him down easy and hopes for the kindness that she's come to expect. Boy apologizes. Just kidding, he doesn't. Boy somehow concludes that all girls want to be treated like garbage, and boom, faster than you can say inevitable, boy treats girl like garbage, patriarchy 1, friendship 0. Oh, you think I'm being harsh? Well, hold on to your fedoras, because we ain't done yet. They don't seem to get that no means no, although they claim to be good listeners. They don't seem to get that a facade of kindness and actual kindness are opposites. They don't seem to get that you won't date me because I'm a nice person is as ridiculous an assertion as, yeah, Pepsi's okay. They don't seem to get that feeling entitled to something for not being a jerk makes them a jerk. How many guys who complain about being in the friend zone does it take to change a light bulb? They can't. They just compliment it excessively and complain when it doesn't screw. And the thing is, this is all to say that our culture is suffering from an outbreak of nice guy syndrome. Symptoms include chronic detachment from reality, delusions, and sexual frustration. But there is a cure, a nice dose of perspective. The results are miraculous, and as a former believer in the friend zone myself, I can attest to that personally. You'll become someone who women could feasibly want to date. You'll come into possession of an ounce or two of self-respect, and you'll finally notice the difference between being nice and being good, between being friendly and being a friend.
This next poet says, she wants to be remembered as more than a stereotype. With my generation, Gabrielle Volrath.
You can blame technology for the downfall of my generation, but when I pass you with the cure to cancer cradled in my palms, I will stick my tongue out at you with the immaturity of my generation, because the cure to cancer could be the cure to societal errors as well. And I hope I get to capture your look of disgust on my new camera, so I can look back and laugh at your intolerance for change, since you seem to be stuck in the ghost of Stone Age past, refusing to adapt. History is recorded with pens, papers, pictures, so who are we to deny future eras of our boastful achievements? Who are we to ignore our right to brag of our advancements? If Mozart were here today, he would be so excited to own an email account. If Beethoven were walking amongst us, he'd be ecstatic to own a smartphone. So go ahead and send angry letters to the government, rant about the potholes in the roads and ignore the potholes in life as we capture the first sunrise of the year and admire it on social media for many new years to come. Praise your textbooks and use your dusty record player that skips your favorite song each time. We shall march to our metronome apps, hum to artists on our iPods, music echoing from our headphones. My phone can play one song on repeat. Jealous? I don't have to memorize phone numbers or search for information deprived of the average being in a musty library. Go ahead and practice your religion from a yellowed, fading Bible as I read passages in large font with the brightness turned all the way up on my next generation tablet. Lock yourself in your castle, Rapunzel, as I look at you through my telescope that can see into so many galaxies, so many constellations, so many futures that you can only dream of. And sometimes I can't tell when I'm about to watch a movie on a 52-inch screen if someone's microwaving instant popcorn or if the noise I hear is the popping of people pulling their heads from their Ains printemps tube. That was French. I translated it on Google in 3 seconds flat. Never will I forget the sound of my family's voice, or will I forget the faces of those I love. I shall tweet songs I like, post dumb cat videos, and publish poems on blogs. I will not deny myself the ability to Instagram my lunch. I can live for the now, take a picture of it, and live it again later on. I will proceed to capture images of roses in the park on my phone. I will continue to videotape my brother's milestones and share them with others. I will accept your cassette tapes and your vinyls, but they do not hold you higher. Status update, you're #pretentious. You can scoff and mock me, roll your eyes and shake your head. Whatever, see if I care. You go ahead and stay put in your backwards evolving snail's pace headspace. You do you. But you can't tell me it's not beautiful that my mom sent me 20 heart eye emojis as soon as she figured out how to use them. That my dad updates me on funny things during his day by text with a million exclamation points at the end. I hope you realize how blessed you are to be able to express your love for someone in 90 different languages at the simple click of a button. Scissorlek. That's Hungarian for I love you.
Next poet wants to be remembered among history's celebrated dissenters, pushing for the world to change before the world changes him, with his title, Secular, Alec Azraelian.
Religious fundamentalists, political reactionists, attending every Eucharist, seeing life in every blastocyst. The mere mention of Charles Darwin is a catalyst for another discussion or schism, wherein they spout Bill O'Reillyisms. Accept Jesus, denounce your abhorrent atheism. The Father, Spirit, and the Son, brainwashed by Pat Robertson, not to be confused with dear old Phil, who gets a thrill from murder for sport, then preaches thou shalt not kill. But then again, I'm just a lefty who gets a bit testy when there's negative reception over contraception because these people really believe life begins at conception. Perhaps that's my fault. If I could reason with these people, they never would have existed at all. But when they take their debate to me, armed with logical fallacy, breeding personal incredulity, I become a time bomb with a ticker set to 3, 2, 1. Perhaps if your biases weren't based on indoctrination, exacerbated by your lack of education, you'd understand that I simply prefer observation to the gods we cook up in our imagination. Or perhaps why my rage congeals and sanity reels when these gods embody xenophobic ideals. Why do we demonize natural explanation in favor of a congregation that bases its beliefs on a translation of a translation? Why is religion considered morally sound when their holy books only serve to compound hatred, intolerance, and a fair bit of misogyny, then tries to cover it up in testament dichotomy? Am I really to believe that God created an existence so flawed, planted contrary evidence in nature's very laws, then left us with faux pas, fundamentals regarding what we do with our own genitals? How can you expect me to understand why nature's gifts should be thoroughly banned? Happiness juxtaposed with contraband. Is this supposed to be divine plan? But worst by far is the invention of sin. A fake disease so they can sell you the medicine and make you feel like something akin to a monster just for acting human. You'll never be comfortable in your own skin. Why can't we seek involvement in life? Do we so badly need to rationalize our own existence that we have to invent an afterlife just to satisfy our lust for purpose? We only get one life, a finite period of time. And I certainly don't plan on squandering mine.
The next poet says, I want to be remembered like Leonardo DiCaprio's first Oscar with beautiful Renee Rogowski.
Hi. All right. Let's give another round of applause for all the poets here tonight. They are killing it. If you guys want to do that for me too, that's cool. So, all right. I wish I had a better story. I would hold every bonfire moment and watch them turn into shimmering gold. The stars would whisper in the same voices as prayers. It's beautiful. I wish I knew if I was praying for the confidence to tell my story or for another star to come crashing down. When it does, I'll remember my prayers are a bad game of telephone, the stars falling too quickly to pick up the line. I wish I had left you alone. Your kisses were like fountain soda, a sweet poison of sickening ignorance, a repulsive adhesive meant to last, a sorry taste sticking to my lips, holding them together so I never said no. I wish I could forget my open eyes when your lips sealed mine. I should have realized that forgotten wall I was pressed against was not hiding us from the memories on the other side. It was what our future would become. Forgotten. I wish I had not watched the sunrise from a hospital window. I won't call it a waste of time, but a waste of mind. Instead of counting the seconds before a golden wave flooded a glittering skyline, I counted calories by the hundreds across bones I can no longer touch. These memories are the ones I remember to forget. I wish I could remember calling the sun beautiful before it melted into a city I will never see the same way. I wish I had let myself bloom. I would have realized the pit I had dug was not my grave, it was a place to grow. I wish I did not believe my roots were all I would become. I only saw my spindled veins dig deeper into the ground as if I wasn't at rock bottom already. When the rest of me blossomed, I did not see how beautiful the flower was. A wish to be beautiful is not beautiful. It is not granted through flowers, through the sunrise, or through your kisses. It is an ignored prayer stuck to a Bible storyline. It is growing branches to build crowns of thorns. It is a burning bush. A bonfire without a story. When the ashes rise to kiss the sky, they will be the same gold as distant stars. They are only beautiful before they fall. I wish I had a better story. The way I tell my story now is through the wishes that I never granted. I am not a star strong enough to cast a glowing miracle. I am not willing to fall. I wish I had never learned the word beautiful, but here I am, beautiful.
This poet says something that I didn't put on my sheet, so she'll give it to you, because I forgot to put it down. With describe yourself in one word, Angel Hall.
Hi guys. I want to be remembered as the girl who makes everyone laugh, so thank you. Alright. If someone asked me to describe myself in one word, I would answer shaky. There are 7 days in a week, and 8 of them consist of me standing in the eye of a hurricane with my palms stretched out, remembering how the storm used to whip through my hair. I fell in love with love before I could even walk. But every time someone says they love me, I lie awake at 4 a.m. Searching for hidden lies and what they could take away from me. My heart is woven from broken glass, with shards sticking out in odd places, but it still beats, and it falls for boys with blue eyes way more than it should. I love to dance, but now my feet tend to take me into twists and turns that make me stumble, both metaphorically and literally. I've thought about wearing a sign, telling people to proceed with caution before I get too close and sink my nails into their skin, trying to lace their bones with mine, because I have a terrible habit of always feeling alone. My blood is really the ink of so many pens that I chewed up and spit out. My inspiration dwindling fast. I've never believed in the face that I see in the mirror because it's all a lie. I still count my ribs like they are ladder rungs that I can climb. Every time I close my eyes, I feel ghosts tearing me apart. My dreams are made up of people and flashes of lightning. I've never told anyone, but every time I wake up, I have to start over and remind myself that I do love life, and that it's okay to wear sweatpants in public. I'm scared one day I'll have a daughter, and she'll get caught in the aftermath of my hurricane. She'll ask why my hands tremble so much, and why there are scars traveling up my left arm. I don't want to have to tell her about the monster I tried to cut out of my elbow, or how much blood there was before I cried and passed out. I don't want to have to say that sometimes the simplest things made me curl into a ball in the shower and sob until it ran cold. I can't bear to see how she looks when I explain to her that I get scared so easily, all because of a callous fist, all because my courage was stolen with a callous fist hitting my face over and over. I'm scared I'll have a son, because I'm horrified at the thought that he might inherit my temper and will be able to compare the bruises that line our knuckles when the voices in our heads get too loud and we punch a hole in the wall, because punching our heart out isn't possible, and it's way too messy. I've always said if there's one thing I do right with my life, it'll be to raise my children without lighting a fire to every hope they have, leaving their confidence weeping on the floor. They won't cringe at the word daddy. My daughter won't ever think for a second that she isn't beautiful. She won't think that the compliments are just another way to fool her until she's knocked off her feet again, shattered like a mosaic before it is pieced together. I think too much. I love too much. I depend too much. I've been told over and over that I can't make houses out of people, and I know all too well they don't make good ones. But I've been standing in this hurricane, and all I've ever wanted is to be someone's everything. The hardest lesson I've had to learn is that it won't happen, not before I'm everything to myself. Thank you.
These poets say, I want to be remembered as that feeling you get when you find $5 in your pocket. With If These Walls Could Talk, Julia Rambeau and Natalie Garcia. Gilbert. Did the mic pick that up?
Wait, grab that. Can you grab the mic? I want the mic. The mic.
Hi, I'm Natalie Garcia. I'm just gonna talk.
Come on, Natalie Garcia, let's go.
If these walls could talk, they would tell you. On your first day, take the stairs.
The ramp is tough.
They're right there.
It's right there.
You'll reach your destination quicker.
Time to scan the
The
crowd.
wide open hands awaiting your arrival.
Let's have her
drum rolls spilling through closed doors.
How nice of them to accent my arrival.
You can pretend these are for you.
I'll thank them later.
Beat the drums and blow the blues a kiss goodbye because you are thoroughly
Overwhelmed.
welcome to take your shoes off and stay a while. You will spend 1,000 nights telling stories here. Make sure your words are in an octave that kindness can reach. And when you are ready to cut the cord, I know someone who will get the knife.
I would never expect 6 months to go by so fast.
You have no idea. You
I'm
are only
already
halfway
halfway
there. Next stop, Disney World.
It's a magical place on earth.
This magic carpet ride will not be your last, but still be careful with what you wish for. Your dreams will come true. You just may have to wait longer than what the ferry can offer.
I'm sorry we were late, but the ferry ride was worth it.
On days when it seems like you rise, only to fall, when there's love in your hands, but not always in your cards, remember, Henry may be your fifth, but he is not your last. If you can't love him, let the world be done with.
Who I used to be, I am.
You are already halfway there. Half.
As in 2 over 4.
As in past over present.
As in now over never.
As in never mistake white walls for empty halls. Heart full and on fire, mind on ice.
Lost in my mind.
Then follow your heart.
Will this ever come easy?
Listen to those who care enough to speak up.
I am learning this slowly.
And remember that there is beauty in every beast. He is not toxic. He is just a boy.
I'm still learning.
Stop trying to fly to someone else's neverland. Stop taking pictures of other people's exhibitions. And on days when you can't tell the difference from your lowest and your highest point, whatever you do, do not go on the roof. Hands too eager as they reach for the river.
My hands may be wet, but that is only because they are clean.
And yes, these drums are marching closer and closer. Do not pretend they are for
There
you.
are days when I feel like a pair of palms outstretched in the wrong direction, cheeks like torn sheet music, like Lazarus. I am looking for meaning.
And when you don't get the call back, or when he doesn't call you back, learn to not compare your backstage to someone else's spotlight. You are not cast to be a shadow. Do not let this go unheard. Say bye-bye, burden, because it is time for you to make your lasting impression.
To become a person who lives and loves and burns but breathes.
You learn and you love, and look at all the friends you've made. You're in a city that never sleeps. Do not waste a second with your back turned.
I know you say there's a time and a place for looking back, but this seems to be the time and this is definitely the place.
Do you remember when you said to me, I never expected this to go by so fast? Do you see what I meant when I told you, just wait? You are chasing the river already to find the road that will lead you home, but it is okay to walk in the other direction.
I am only chasing the river to look for the water to remind me of home, my baptism in the dressing room sink.
Do not run like your mascara. Stay still and listen. The sight of rosy cheeks, nervous boys, and teardrops on notebook paper will never leave you. The ghost will speak to you in creaks and echoes. Do not forget the stories you've been told.
I can't tell if this feels like the end of the movie or the beginning of one.
Either way, give credit where credit is due. Darling, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. May your little town blue eyes stay as open as your hands that only ever close when it is time to say, thank you. I promise the river will be there long after you've gone. So no matter what roads you take to get there, what new walls you find to rest your head against, I will always leave the light on with the front door wide open. May this wind always be a familiar welcome. And even after you've found new treasure, may you never forget that this will always be home.
The next poet says, I want to be remembered as the cup of tea you drink every morning but still can never get enough of, with 7 billion, Emma Barnes.
Hello. Told yourself you'd sleep for 20 minutes at most. 3 hours and 40 minutes longer than 20 minutes, you wake up finally. You wake feeling no better than you had when your body first left itself. Not refreshed, not vitalized, not absolute, or ready, or positive, or motivated, or happy. A person's supposed to take naps when they're sleepy, but all of your sleepy has turned to dreary, and your dreary to dreamy, and all you wish is to retreat back into nap nothingness. The homework you've only bothered to put your name on lies helplessly on the other, colder side of your bed, dusty almost, as if to replicate the shelves full of books you've read over and over again, the doors of your closet full of heavy clothes to hide in, the window frames you've opened so many times, to gaze out at the world and feel the air and embrace all of it without having to leave the isolated safety of your room.
grown to be Rapunzel in her tower, eccentric with thoughts and beautiful beauty and a desire to see, to feel, to experience, to love. The difference? Your tower is a 2-story home in the middle of suburbia. Your hair is slightly shorter. Your door can actually be opened. So desperately you want to tell them all, to scream and shout and yell and wave your hands and stomp your feet until somebody notices. It isn't that you don't want to live, you are just afraid to. Your voice is close to silent and your arms hang down at your sides, so instead you open up that notebook of yours and scribble in messy letters. There are 7 billion people in the world. Later you cross it out and write in messier letters. I am one of 7 billion people. Your friends invite you to things, but you say no every single time. You're buried 12 feet deep in missed calls, unread messages, unfinished sentences, and you don't have enough strength to dig yourself out, let alone the proper tools. Someone, someday, is going to come along, give you shovels and Mountain Dew, and energy drinks, and maybe a bath to wipe off all that dirt. They'll whisper encouraging things in your ear as you realize your strength. Provide just enough to allow yourself a climb up and an escape out. They'll notice your agony, but also your beauty, your anxiety, but also your creativity without the need for yelling and stomping and waving and screaming. You'll finally reach the surface, and hopefully that person will stay with you, but if not, someone else, someone maybe even better will. Maybe after you've washed away all the dirt and taken a refreshing, vitalizing nap, you'll open up your notebook, a nice clean page, and write in neat letters, I am one of 7 billion people. Thank you.
This next poet says, I want to be remembered for thick thighs and a thicker heart, with 11 reasons why. Hannah Grinley.
Because 1 in 5 children currently have or will have a debilitating mental disorder. 6.9% of U.S. adolescents suffered at least one major depressive episode this year. 9.1% of adults, that makes 16% of our population, 18.2 million people. That's more than double the population of Norway and Lebanon combined, more than the number of redheads in the United States, and greater than the amount of people who enrolled in college this year. 2. Because when we closed down the majority of our psychiatric hospitals decades ago, we traded beds for street corners and prison cells, our most vulnerable locked up, being treated by prison guards who only know how to suppress. Last year, a bipolar prisoner ripped a suicide blanket off of his body to try and hang himself. The prison charged him for the blanket. What we imagine as plastic cups of Technicolor change is really jingling change, gray pavement, black eyes, cracked lips, metal bars, and black eyes. We hide our faces as if they are a sneeze on the subway or a bad grade we just can't stand to look at. 3, because we need to look. 4, because mental illnesses are the only diseases that people still make fun of. Mood swings, you're so bipolar. Sad, that's depressing. Like to keep tabs on your cheating boyfriend, can you say psychotic? Liking your t-shirts to be color-coded means you're OCD just about as much as having a cough means you have tuberculosis. We make light of the things that we find the most uncomfortable, a way to cope with the unavoidable fact that mental illness knows no gender or religion, race, or class. It only knows how to tear from the inside. 5, because penis pumps are covered by insurance, but my older brother's antidepressants are not. 6,
6, because Robin Williams' suicide opened the floor for conversation about mental illness, but Amanda Bynes' manic episodes were hilarious. Because let's face it, guys, the only mentally ill person we really like is a dead one. 7, because the average number of mass school shootings has risen from 6 to 16 in just a decade. That's 31 since Columbine. We have fire drills, tornado drills, and hit the goddamn deck drills. We are amongst the first generation to go to school each day wondering if our parents' tear-stained faces will pop up on Channel 4 primetime news coverage, another school shooting prompting a reevaluation of mental health in America with Anderson Cooper, at least until the next batch of high schoolers are buried. Because as much as we reevaluate mental health, nothing is going to change until we do. My mom used to quiz me on what to do if a man tried to grab me off the street. Now she asks me if I can fit into the cupboards in my math classroom. We wonder why people keep shooting things when it's easier to buy a gun in this country than it is to access basic health care. Because owning an assault rifle is a constitutional right, but being able to take your child to the doctor is a privilege. 8, because I'm currently learning about psychological disorders from the same teacher that told my parents that my older brother's depression was a behavioral issue. 9, because suicide is the third leading cause of death in people ages 15 to 24, but we still don't talk about mental health in school. It's been blacklisted by public education, sitting on the curb with contraception, evolution, and female genitalia. It turns out that our kids aren't dying from snorting bath salts or whatever obscure drug the local news has convinced all of our mothers we're doing. It turns out that our kids, our classmates, and our friends are dying to be dead. 12-year-olds with baby faces and 16-year-olds with big dreams die thinking that every breath they took was a waste. Nooses made out of notebook paper and blood that drips like red ink. The school system teaches us about the bottom of the ocean and the surface of Neptune, but not what's happening within our own heads. 10. Because my great-grandmother's sister died in a mental institution where they treated her bipolar disorder with electroshock therapy. That's like treating a broken leg by breaking an arm. And we see this as a thing of the past. We save it for American Horror Story and insane asylum-themed haunted houses, but the fact remains that we still don't know what we're doing. We can grow human ears on the backs of mice and teach robots how to break dance, but we have yet to create an antidepressant that can pinpoint specific neurotransmitters. We have laws to ensure the rights of corporation, but no legislation to keep guns out of the hands of people who cannot control their thoughts, let alone actions. We have mapped over a quarter of the moon, but we still know virtually nothing about the human brain. 11, because I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my family, and I'm afraid for my friends. I'm afraid that fake it till you make it will become the failing motto of a culture of untimely deaths. I'm afraid that nobody will ask and nobody will tell. I'm afraid that nobody will look. I'm afraid that before long we will all be torn from the inside.
This next poet says, I want to be remembered by my hugs and my late night talks with my best friends about the universe and love. With dollars and cents, Tommy Hickey.
Yes, it's that simple. Good. All right. If I could just sense, I'd sense just enough. If I sense just enough, I am no longer numb. I am immersed in waves, waves that penetrate my barriers and fill up my senses to the point where I flow with them over midnight fields and through open car windows. Friends, I grew up on passenger seat drives where I absorbed the story of Jack and Diane, Johnny Ray, and how we all need to roll with the changes. But then I blew life into a harmonica for the first time when I was 6, and my passion swelled for the sweet aural sludge that is the blues. And that's when I learned how to make waves, waves that can draw tears from my face faster than I can get to singing the chorus, when the cessation of a 3-year love couldn't help to break the dam of my eyelids. After years of kitchen table drumming, it finally evolved into real drumming, and those skins became my skin, but my skin alone was scarce. So I made connections with an individual who drummed up a group of other wave makers, some of the best people I've ever come to know. I told myself that we would take over the world. I told myself over and over again that we were unstoppable. Then my father asked us where we'd be in 5 years. I said things like, in the studio or on the way to the next venue, while others responded with higher education and white-collar destinations. I was then forced to face the reality of the situation, a reality that I had told myself over and over again was a hallucination. I didn't need to worry about what would become of my creations and my creative collaborations as long as waves became my life. I then noticed others accelerating down the same path I had dreamed on before. I had witnessed how the helping hands that claim to swell and aid dreamers end up burning the hands of those dreamers, capitalizing on their public appeal. It was all right, though, because the fact that they were making it made sense, and more importantly, it would make them more than just sense. It would seem that they had organized the perfect set of plans, but no one ever told them that you can't fix a wounded heart with wounded hands. Most of all, no one ever told me that half of the souls that plunge into my senses through my headphones are knocked senseless because of business. At that point, I had my true coming of age. I realized that sound had been raped of its purpose. I can't stand this feeling, I can't stand this business, I can't stand how my friends double as operators of a stick, skewering and slowly rotating me above the burning embers of the lies I tell myself. I can't stand how the path to success is paved with greed, competition, and careless deconstruction, boobs, abs, and appointments for liposuction. I'm amazed at what brings us to believe that it is okay for people to be owned by a contract, to have people's puppet strings pulled so tightly that the most successful puppets cut their own strings with a gun or bottomless bottles of whatever will make them forget quicker. Either way you escape, it's just a matter of how long you want to wait. They're coming for you and for me. We all want to get famous for doing what it is we love, and what a gilded incentive it is to make it to this burning curse. Drink, pop 1. Drink, pop 3. Drink pop, kids, before you learn why kids smoke tree. Sedatives were made for those who realize the truth about making it and all it takes to obtain and maintain it. This is written in bitter realization that the process of getting there is walking into a factory, being pushed along the assembly line, and to be popped out the other end ready to face a stadium of puppets who wish that their strings were manned by the most successful puppeteers someday. So friends, if I could just sense, I'd sense just enough. If I sense just enough, I am no longer numb. Since I just don't know better, this numbness is just. And in this bucket of words, action, dollars, and cents, justice makes no sense.
This next poet says, I want to be remembered for more than a joke with Don't Break the Mirror, Nathan Wilson.
One more till intermission, so hold on to your hats. Don't break the mirror. Sadly, a sad story hits us harder. It pulls the heartstrings or gives you butterflies, but why? Is it that we navel gaze looking for the peace of our shattered selves in the words we hear? We identify and categorize our struggles, drown ourselves in our own realizations of the tragic beauty of ourselves, but when every tragic beauty is more tragic than beautiful, what's left of the beauty? What's left of sunsets and the smile of a lover, of spine shivers and warm beds? What is left of the beauty? When we look in the mirror and see the shattered glass of ourselves, why do we break the mirror to match? Happiness is a virtue propagated by the beauty of a world we create, so make a beautiful world. Write love songs and sonnets. Create art to change perspective, not propagate petulance. The more beauty in our world, the less tragic our art, the less tragic our minds. Clear away the clouds that reside over you. Not every poem must be sad. Not every song must be deep. Perhaps you will discover the mirror was broken before you were, and you will be whole again.
We're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break for you to go out for concessions, stretch your legs, etc. Buy a coffee mug or whatever, and then we'll come back in for some music.